After India, Japan's big trade deal snub to the US, Japan has called off trade deal visit to the US. It is not just India which is standing up to bully Trump. Japan has been very miffed as well with US trade talk stance. Last minute cancellation by Japan delegation. Fourth and fifth largest economies versus Trump. India, Japan, common cause here in trade bullying that we've seen. Deadlock in spite of Japan's $550 billion investment offer. US is being extremely difficult and Japan is also standing up to these bullying tactics is what we are seeing at this point in time. The ongoing trade war has affected not just India but many other nations, Japan being one of them. US and Japan are clearly at odds over terms of $550 billion investment. US were to announce a trade deal with Japan later this week. What we're learning at this point in time now is that Japan is upset with US trade talk stance. Trump had announced massive trade agreement with Japan. US was ready to announce the trade deal with Japan. And after India, Japan has also snubbed the US. United States Commerce Secretary said a trade deal with Japan includes a $550 billion investment. Now Japan says we aren't doing business just yet. They've in fact pulled out of the trade talks. It's a deadlock that continues. US in fact had spoken about this, saying that there is a deal which will be finalized soon. They're clearly at odds over terms of the $550 billion investment. Essentially, these are fourth and fifth largest economies of the world that are in fact doing a thumbs down, showing a thumbs down to Donald Trump. After India, Japan also has indicated its displeasure with the bullying tactics. Cracks are clearly widening in Japan and US's interpretation of the tariff trade deal, and clearly frustration mounting right here as Japan continues to question Trump's trade deal and has pulled off from the talks. India, Japan are the countries, in fact, among the many countries who have, in fact, done a thumbs down to America as far as the trade policy, the trade deal is concerned. A deal was to be worked out, a delegation were to be traveling to the US, but there is a last-minute cancellation, is what we know at this point in time. Cracks widen in Japan and US's interpretation of the tariff trade deal. Frustration mounting as Japan questions the details of Trump's trade deal right here. Trump announced massive trade agreement with Japan, and this deal was to be struck. However, Japan has now pulled out at this moment, indicating that they are upset. So it's not just India, but there are several other nations who've been upset with the US's trade stance. Japan's trade negotiator cancelling the US visit over displeasure is what we are learning at this point in time. Talks are further delayed. This was in fact designed to finalize the $550 billion investment package offered by Tokyo in exchange for relief on punishing tariffs. Japan were to send a delegation to Washington to craft a written confirmation of the terms of the package. However, this is not happening right now. Fifth largest economies versus Trump is what it looks like at this point in time, but Japan also was sending a delegation to finalize The $550 billion investment, which is not happening at this point in time, is what we know. So essentially, it's not just India, but US has also been extremely upset with what has happened here. Russia-Ukraine war is Modi's war, is what is being said by the US against India when it comes to grievances with us. India has countered, in fact, saying that India never endorsed the Ukraine invasion by Russia. That is what is being said. Path to peace runs through New Delhi is what India has always essentially maintained. In fact, US has maintained rather. India has said this is not an era of war. This is what Prime Minister Modi has always reiterated. Now, the allegation by the US is that Russia is using import money to fund this war. India has said stop bullying us, and also that these are tariffs, the imposition of tariffs, which are extremely unfair, is India's position. Also that there is no proof that our money is being used to fund the war that we've always stood against. Continuing to get you more details on how America appears to be rattled with India's response as well to Trump's sanctions. White House trade advisor has also made this evident. Peter Navarro has spoken about it, ramping up his criticism of India's Russian oil imports, accusing New Delhi of financing Russia's war in Ukraine and dubbing the conflict as Modi's war. Extremely critical of India's position, though India continues to maintain that they never supported Russia's invasion of Ukraine.